Calaroga Shark Media.
From Miami, where we're getting jiggy with it, this is Ballot.
That's right. DKNY all up in my eye. Let's hit this. President Trump is heading to Miami next month to speak at the America Business Forum, and the guest list reads like someone threw a dart at Forbes magazine and then called whoever it landed on. The event is set for November 5th at the Kaseya Center, and speakers include Lionel Messi, Will Smith, Rafael Nadal, and a collection of billionaire CEOs who've apparently decided Miami is the only city that exists. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez called Trump one of the most consequential political and business leaders of our time, which is quite the introduction considering the event is happening across the street from Trump's potential future presidential library. This lineup really slaps. Will Smith will be there. I guess they needed someone who knows how to make an entrance. Though based on his recent track record, let's hope he keeps his hands to himself during the networking sessions. The last thing this conference needs is someone getting fresh with the Prince of Bel-Air jokes. Welcome to Miami, indeed. The Chicago Marathon is happening this Sunday, and runners are dealing with a brand new pre-race concern that has nothing to do with carb loading or breaking in new shoes. They're worried about immigration enforcement. More than 50,000 runners are expected to participate in one of the world's largest marathons, weaving through 29 Chicago neighborhoods while over 1.7 million spectators watch. It should be straightforward. You train for months, you show up, you run 26.2 miles, you question all your life choices around mile 18, and then you collect your medal. Simple. Except this year, the Trump administration's push to increase immigration enforcement and send National Guard troops to Chicago has created what organizers are calling a new kind of race day anxiety. And when marathon runners start worrying about something other than their IT band, you know things have gotten complicated. Mayor Brandon Johnson addressed the situation on Tuesday, noting that roughly 3,000 runners from Mexico have signed up for the marathon. "I want all of them to come," Johnson said. "I believe the best way in which we can demonstrate resistance is not bending the knee to tyranny." Which is lovely sentiment, but probably not the reassuring everything will be fine message runners were hoping for. The marathon route passes through several neighborhoods with high immigrant populations, including Pilsen on the Lower West Side and Little Village on the Southwest Side, both home to sizable Mexican-American communities. These areas have reportedly grown quieter in recent weeks, as threats of immigration raids have created an atmosphere of fear. About 40% of the marathon field, roughly 20,000 people, are traveling internationally to Chicago for the race. And many of them have taken to social media with questions that marathon training programs don't typically cover. Should they run with their passports? Should they drop out entirely? What should runners do if they see someone being detained along the course? Some runners have expressed concern that the race day tracking app, the thing that lets your family see when you're approaching so they can stop scrolling Instagram and actually cheer for you, might be weaponized by federal agents. People are advising each other to make their status in the app private, which is quite the shift from the usual marathon worry of, will my phone die before I can post my finish time? The anxiety ramped up when a social media post claiming there would be federal immigration enforcement activity along the marathon route went viral. The Chicago Parks District pushed back, saying they hadn't received any information or guidance about such plans. But that denial hasn't exactly calmed everyone's nerves. Marathon runners have dealt with heightened security at major races ever since the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. Airport-level security checks have become standard. But race day nerves are typically focused on whether you'll get a cramp at mile 20 or if that pre-race banana was a mistake, not whether you might be pulled off the course by immigration agents. The response in online forums has been heartening, though. In Reddit threads, runners have been offering to stand in solidarity with those who feel vulnerable. One post said, "Tell your friend to run sub 3 with me. If anyone even looks at him crossing that finish line, I'll protect him and don't care what it takes." Another simply stated, "Runners will support runners." So this Sunday, as 50,000 people line up to run through Chicago's neighborhoods, they'll be carrying the usual gear: energy gels, water bottles, race bibs. But they'll also be carrying an entirely new kind of pre-race tension. One that has nothing to do with their training plan and everything to do with the wondering whether the biggest challenge of the day will be the course itself or what's happening around it. President Trump indicated on Tuesday that hundreds of thousands of furloughed federal workers may not automatically receive back pay once the government reopens, which would be a problem. Except there's a law guaranteeing they get that back pay, a law that Trump himself signed in 2019. Let me walk you through this one because it's a journey. After the longest government shutdown in history, a 5-week closure that started at the end of 2018, Congress passed the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act. This law guaranteed back pay for federal workers furloughed during shutdowns, not just for that specific closure, but for all future ones too. The whole point was to remove the uncertainty for federal employees who keep getting caught in the middle of political standoffs. Trump signed it into law in 2019. Fast forward to Tuesday, and a draft White House memo started circulating that interprets this law, let's say creatively. According to the memo, only workers deemed essential, military members, air traffic controllers, people required to work during the shutdown would automatically get back pay. For everyone else who's been furloughed, Congress would still need to explicitly approve funding for those payments. When reporters asked Trump if furloughed workers would lose their back pay, he said it depends on who you're talking about, adding that there were some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Which is definitely the kind of reassuring answer you want from the president about whether you'll get paid for the work you did. When pressed on the legality of this, given that he signed a law saying the opposite, Trump insisted he would follow the law and what the law says is correct. So he'll follow the law, he just has a very different interpretation of what the law he signed actually says. So let's recap. Trump signed a law guaranteeing furloughed federal workers would get back pay. 6 years later, his administration is now arguing that law doesn't actually mean what it clearly says it means. Meanwhile, the government's own website says those workers will get back pay. And when asked about it, Trump says some people don't deserve to be taken care of, and he'll handle them in a different way. Portions of today's program were made with the help of AI. We don't pay them either.